Now, the Federation Account Allocation Committee, that's otherwise called FAC, it's an acronym, has shared the sum of 966.1 billion naira in July Federation account revenue to the federal, state and local councils. Now, this was contained in a communique issued at the end of the Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun. The 966 billion naira total distributable revenue comprised statutory revenue of 397.419 billion, value-added tax revenue of 271 billion, electronic money transfer levy revenue of 12 billion naira, and exchange difference revenue of 283 billion naira. Now, the federal government received 374 billion naira. The state government received 310 billion naira, while the local government councils received 229 billion naira. In all of this, it sounds very much like there's money somewhere in the bag to make Nigeria push a little bit closer to some coolness. But again, let's, with the revenue shared with the states and local councils, the onus now rests on their shoulders to do the needful with the funds. The responsibility now rests with the states and local governments to help Nigerians get out of poverty currently being experienced. Well, to join me look at this and expand it further is the development economist Odilim Enwegbara. Good to see you and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's always good to have that smile, the way you have it on your face. This is, as I said, this is money, but let's first of all talk about what goes on in a federation like Nigeria. The monies have been shared. Every now and then we look towards Abuja, we look towards the federal government. But again, sometimes we must start talking about our regional governments, the states and even councils. How much of these monies in times past have trickled down to these states and councils to the extent that Nigerians living in these places can feel government?
Suleiman, your question is packed that it will take days to discuss. But let's get to the critical issues that always bothers me as a Nigerian and as a lover of this country. And as a man that wants to, before I die, I want to see a better Nigeria than I have seen. Suleiman, each time I look at Nigeria, I ask myself, when will this joke come to an end? Because Nigerian constitution was not designed to develop the country. A group of military people sat down and designed a constitution that trapped Nigerians in the political system and the economic system. And nobody wants to resolve this problem. You brought the issue of regional economy all over the world. Federal system is coming together a group of states or regions to use the center as a reference point, but always fall back to their own regions and mind their businesses. China developed because China came up with regional, although they didn't call their own regions, and they ensure that each region has its own economic blueprint that will suit their needs. The same with the United States. America has 12 regions with 50 states, although 51 states. You cannot call yourself a federation where everybody comes to the center every month and collect money. Suleiman, if you collect money every morning, you will not work hard because you have no need. You sleep till 12 noon. Are we saying that our state governors cannot fold their arms, cannot fold their sleeves and go and work? If others can do it, a black man must do it. The black man cannot pretend to be a child forever. It hurts my heart, Suleiman. It hurts my heart because these people shamelessly go to Abuja to collect money they have not worked for. And the state allows them to do this. And somebody designed that constitution. Sometimes I cry, but I told myself, at the age of 62 plus, why should we be crying? Although I have not played my part. You see, I'm telling my story this way, Suleiman, because why am I telling this story? Is because nothing will happen without creating regional economies. In 2019, late 2018, I was approached by people that are very close to Atiku Abubakar and say, please, give us economic blueprint. And I will tell you, what we put there was how to fast-track Nigerian economic industrialization. Because any country can industrialize. It's not a rocket science. China did it as far back as 1886. Japan did it. Countries have done it. US did it in 1791. What is wrong with a black man? Don't we have the same brain they have? The problem is that we are selfish. We are ethnic conscious. Because when Tinubu was coming, I was looking for the blueprint. I didn't see anything. I said, is this a joke? At least Atiku had a blueprint in 2019, which I was the person, I'm not bragging, I designed it. When Buhari came on board in 2015, his nephew, Suleiman Adamu, approached me, came to my house and said, please, help us with something. And we do something. Although they abandoned me, but that's a different story. You must not rule 200 plus million people without a blueprint, economic blueprint. Running a country is not a joke.
Well, that doesn't mean that the Tinubu government doesn't have an economic blueprint. Because,
show me.
Because you've also seen some of the key manifestos in its renewed hope agenda. But this is not about a particular government. This is about one of the issues you've raised, the kind of system we operate.
Yes.
And India just landed in the moon.
Thank you.
And we shouldn't be talking about infrastructure by now if these states are ingenious. So how can we still go back to the states, because every now and then we keep talking about the government at the center. How can we, really, the people of states, start to look towards our government to ensuring that these monies truly are plowed into these states to the extent that we can all feel it? This is not about building of hospitals. We all recall once upon a time we're all called the third world countries, even India as well, once upon a time, was a third world nation. So let's go back to the blueprint you're talking about.
Yes.
How can the states bring about a workable blueprint?
Fantastic. But you see, there's something you said, if I not forget. That is, how could the people be part of whatever that comes? You are not a shareholder in a company. You cannot participate in the business of that company. When you're a shareholder, a taxpayer, then you must ask here, the person you pay tax to, how do you spend my money? And you say it boldly. Whenever a Nigerian sees that they are running their business, a government or politicians by politicians for politicians. So if they give him, he thanks. If he doesn't give him, he moves. Because he's not actually a stakeholder by shareholding. That's said now. That's a question you raised about how do we decentralize it. Was that the question, or you repeat, because I now forgotten the question you raised? You said?
No, I'm talking about how can we, like the money is shared.
Yes.
Now, we just gave a huge figure.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it does not reflect on these states.
Yes, because it's not supposed to reflect. You see, Suleiman, I went to university. You have a syllabus. You have programs. And teachers teach. You come to class to do exam. If the federal does not have a program, how can they say it have a program? A country is not run by accident. A country, you talked about India. It took me 6 months to stay in a hotel to put together what I think can jumpstart country's economy. Look, economic development is the simplest thing a country can do. Industrialization, you don't need to go out and invent the wheel, because all you need to do is to create industrial zones. Build the infrastructure there. Allow people to go there. Create tax-free zone for them. Allow infrastructure and the block importation of goods that can be made in your country. You owe nobody any explanation for protecting your economy, because that is charity begins at home. But these guys come as puppets. I'm sorry, I'll go there. So the question that the state governors do not have programs. What is important to them to win an election at your costs? So when they win an election, they believe they don't owe the people anything. After all, the election can be manipulated. So they don't even need you. You can talk by tomorrow, but when they go into win an election, because if they are held responsible through electorate, that's why election is supposed to be done without people rigging it. And I want the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court to do the needful so that the people will win an election by telling people what they can do. Imagine, Suleiman.
No, I think it's the other way around. It's because the people have not done the needful. That is why we wait for the judiciary to finally give us, you know, what should
Suleiman,
be.
when you vote, your vote doesn't count.
Because if we ensure that the votes count, it is because a failure of the system. That is why everything ends in the judiciary, isn't it?
Suleiman, I think they are thinking it is possible because theoretically it's possible. When you are going to election and you hear pop, 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 do you want to die? You run. The people shooting that are friends of politicians. They don't want you to come and vote. And even when you vote, you'll be there. Let me tell you, in 2019, I voted. I spent the time, for the first time, I'm sorry to tell you the truth, I haven't been voting. And after that, I went there to vote. I will tell you what I saw. I wept. I said, so this is what happens. Do you know when I wanted to use my phone, they said, if you use your phone, we smash your phone here. Is that the type of thing you and I will go and engage? Nigeria is run by vagabonds. I will tell them in their faces, you are not worthy of who you are, because when you are dying, you ask yourself, I live for what? What bothers me, Suleiman, at the age of 62? I don't want to die without giving something to humanity. Because at the end of the day, 20 years, 100 years later, your name is forgotten. So what I'm saying in essence is that these people are supposed to be accountable by, first of all, coming with the program. And the sign undertaking that if I fail with my program, let me be removed out of power. You know, people can sign that thing and go and deposit it in court. So that if Tinubu said that he's going to give Nigerian power within 2 years, at certain, amount of power, and he didn't, he has signed an undertaking on that basis. We need to get to that point, Suleiman. You're talking about India. Indians are not smarter than Nigerians.
So let's quickly here, we can use a categorical statement to one brush to sweep every Nigerian. So you could say some or a few Nigerians, not that every Nigerian is being...
I'm sorry if I'm...
So I'm trying, because you're the expert. What are the things that we're supposed to see in some of these states? With these monies, they don't have programs. So now let's say they're watching.
Yes.
And Odilim is talking. What could be the program for some of these states to actually bet that will change the course of these states?
Beautiful question. Let me put it this way. If you want to industrialize your state, you can do it. You bring people. The brain is the richest thing God gave to humanity. You bring people and say, because each state has its own problems and its own advantages. Look, there was a time I put together the 5 states of Southeast. I told them, look, and I met them in Enugu. I said, I want to create something that will give you more money than you can believe. They said, what is it? I said, lottery. Southeastern lottery, national lottery, where you give the first winner about 1 billion. If you do it, the whole world will, the whole Nigeria will buy your lottery, especially if it is open. Do you know how much you will make? While he was there, I said another thing. We designed Southeastern roads. And they say, these roads, we are going to tow the roads. Come and we tow the road. Forget about the federal. After the conversation, it ended there. Because they're looking at you as irrelevant because you are not a political weight. You're not a member.
I think that should be it. Forget about the federal government. Let the states now start to act. And if the government at this point in time can actually save up some monies, and now we're getting to see that we're having more money to be shared. But the problem, Dr. Enwegbara, it won't be felt by the people.
Look.
Now we're talking about states. We haven't even spoken about local
governments. I know. Mr. Suleiman, you see, trickle down must start with trickle up. If you don't have trickle up, you can't have trickle down. This is economics anyway. Let's leave it. If you create an enabling environment for investors to come and deny the state today's food in order for them to have tomorrow, investors will come. Look, if a state governor said, I want to create entrepreneurs award for the best young entrepreneur, let him come with his business plan that will be a blockbuster business. I will give him how much he needs. You go and borrow it. And the young man comes with ICT something and set it up, or come with something like a herbal tech, or whatever you call it, and put it together and say this. And you provide him the resources he needs. Because he doesn't need much. And you protect it, and more people will come. More people will come. By the time you know in Suleiman, it will be like this. When you develop it at that level, then the trickle down will happen. Because you employ people. People are not supposed to be fed. People are supposed to be employed. So that they become revenue generators. They become taxpayers. So they become part of the state and a part of the economy.
Let's see if we can close on this. You just touched on herbal tech, and when we talk about grassroots,
yes.
We have a lot of people who have such knowledge, and some people who have been trained abroad. Today, we see Nigerians and Africa talk about China and India in that regard. Is this something that you think that Nigeria can harness?
Of course. If you go to China, which I've been going to China a lot, you have these hospitals. Most of the things you see, herbal shops. Look, Africa has what it takes, because herbs were actually developed by Africans about 5,000 years ago, before the West was in primitivity. I'm sorry to use that. Africa was actually advanced in so many things, but they came here and they brainwashed us to believe. Suleiman, you are on my group. Suleiman, I have never taken any medication for the past 2 years. I don't eat out. I don't take anything. I don't take anything that contains sugar. I am actually herbivorous.
And you're in your 60s.
And I'm in 62. And Suleiman, every morning I go and do 1 hour intensive. I'm not sick. I sleep like a baby. I want every Nigerian to go back to the base. You see, our life is not about medicine, but you have to save their life. So what I'm saying in essence is this. Imagine if government will call 50 Nigerians to come and work on this. That will jumpstart Nigerian economy, because Nigeria can lead Africa in herbalism. And that will save us a lot of money buying synthetic medicine, toxic things that are killing our people. Some of the things, they put things that will make us infertile.
I think we'll have to have another day to have that conversation, because it's a business angle that we must explore. I'd like to thank you for your time, Basil Enwegbara.